Chapter 1: Definitions and the Mechanics of a Crush. So, what is a crush? Have you ever felt attracted to someone else's looks, personality, confidence, or just their overall presence? If so, then you have experienced a crush. However, this does not automatically mean that you and that person will end up in a relationship. Whether you know them or not, a crush is really about admiration and emotional fondness, which is often based on idealized qualities. Now, here's where things get interesting. If a crush stares at you, maybe with dilated eyes, touches their hair or face, points their feet towards you, or even copies your actions, speech, or clothing, then your crush might like you back. And I say might, because these signs do not fully guarantee reciprocation. This is the stage where individuals experience a mix of emotions such as euphoria, vulnerability, anxiety, and validation. And sometimes this can develop into what we call a situationship. At this stage, people often rely on nonverbal communication to catch each other's attention. But when there is no reciprocation, it can lead to overthinking and even limerence. A crush can be expressed through verbal or nonverbal cues. For example, they might ask open ended questions about your life. They might share personal secrets or flaws. They may actively listen to your conversations. They may peacock to capture your attention. They may preen or fidget to release nervous energy. They may engage in eye contact to test the waters. Or they may mirror your actions to show that you're equal to them. And finally, they may maintain proximity to gauge interests and see what you're up to. Now, before we move forward, let's define some key vocabulary terms that will help you understand the rest of the series. So, the first one is the social anchor. A person who provides a source of comfort, stability, or security is literally what it means. In this context, it's someone who sets the emotional tone of an environment. For example, someone's aura can create an emotional appeal that attracts others. On the other hand, we have the defense mechanism or the ego shield. This is a strategy that people use to hide nervousness or agitation. It helps protect their emotions and public image to maintain composure, which prevents, blushing or the fear of rejection. Then we have ego or social pride. This is the desire for importance and control in order to maintain one's image in society. For instance, one can be loud with friends or talk to other people to hide themselves from their crush. Other times, they can use objects to create a barrier that keeps their confidence and comfort zone intact. All right? And then we have obsession, or what I call mental looping. This happens when your mind keeps returning to the same person due to intense attraction. It can create emotional dependence where your happiness starts to rely on their actions. In my opinion, this is an unhealthy practice because it can lead to depression and attachment. This word seems quite familiar. It reminds me of something I learned in my world literature class. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the Bhagavad Gita. If you guys know the story, basically Arjuna faces attachment to outcomes and loved ones. Krishna acted as his mentor and a celestial god, where he gave him a vision of thousands of men being swallowed into blazing mouths. This reading taught me to let go of attachment and outcomes and instead pursue Dharma, which is basically a sense of purpose. And seeing all of this, they somehow connect to the themes that will be presented in this podcast, pretty much. And that's basically obsession. On the other hand, we have agitation. This describes the restlessness and uncomfortable excitement often caused by limerence or deep infatuation. Crushes can usually convey this through fidgeting or preening, and even if they may try to conceal their attraction, their body signals may reveal it. You will know if they show attraction or disinterest based on patterns and consistency in subconscious signs. Alright, so that's agitation. Then we have situationship. Oh boy. A situationship is basically like a connection where there are consistent signals, which are often nonverbal, but there are no clear commitment or defined relationship. In other words, both individuals may show signs of interest based on eye contact, proximity, and preening, but may not have the urge to approach each other due to shyness or fear of rejection, like I've mentioned. Hence, it creates a stalemate, which is also known as a situationship. So, think of it this way. We all know stalemate comes from chess. Perhaps you play a game and then you have no other chance of winning, just a 50-50. Think of it this way, like as if one individual may not have the courage to talk to the other person, and vice versa. And it applies to the other person as well. Maybe this person might be hanging out with someone else, or they may be trying to protect their ego. So, really, this is a situationship that really describes how maybe this individual may not be able to talk to the other individual. It's basically like they're showing signs of interest or affection, but at the end of the day, they do not find effort to like establish that relationship. And moving on, we have plausible deniability, which will be the last term that we're going to be discussing for this chapter. This is when someone flirts or shows interest but leaves room to pull back, just in case of rejection or awkwardness. So when they pull back, right, this is known as the push-pull cycle. And we will be discussing this in chapter 5. All right? So, moving on, plausible deniability is like a potentially manipulative tactic where individuals avoid accountability, right? Usually, attraction is straightforward. It's done through a confession or open body language. Perhaps at this point, someone might have talked to them already. But in this case, they're really trying to push themselves away just to protect their own ego, like I've mentioned before. And unfortunately, it's really, really difficult to break the ice. And so both individuals may detach, which creates a stalemate rather than a harmonious relationship. I am technically tying this term back to the previous definition of situationship, basically. And with that, you now have the foundation to understand how a crush works, both emotionally and behaviorally. In chapter 2, we'll dive deeper into nonverbal communication cues and how they shape attraction. Thank you.